The galaxy was beautiful, wide, and full of light. Stars shined like silent guardians. And many peaceful worlds lived under the guidance of a gentle and wise alien queen named Siraliah. She ruled not with fear, but with kindness and care. People loved her because she always thought of them first. She was not only a queen, she was a mother to every life in her empire, but among all her responsibilities, her greatest joy was her youngest daughter, Princess Leora. The princess was bright, curious, and full of hope. She loved exploring new places, loved learning about other worlds, and always believed that every species deserved respect. Wherever she went, she spread happiness like sunlight. One peaceful day, everything changed. A rare cosmic storm appeared in deep space. It was not like normal storms. The storm twisted light, bent gravity, and tore open strange paths in space. Ships disappeared in it. Signals were lost inside it. People called it the Silent Tempest, because no sound came out once something entered its heart. The princess, brave and curious, had been traveling near that area with a small exploration crew. The queen trusted the crew because they were skilled and loyal. They were only meant to map safe routes and study harmless space. Dust. No one expected danger, until the alarms began. Emergency messages reached the royal palace. Screens filled with shaking visuals. Voices called out in panic. "Your Majesty, the storm. It appeared too fast. We're losing control. The gravitational pull is tearing the ship apart. We cannot escape its field." "Princess," then the signal cut. Silence fell across the palace. For a few seconds, Queen Siraliah simply stood still. Her heart felt like it stopped. Her eyes stayed fixed on the empty screen. No words came out of her mouth. It felt like the whole universe froze with her. Then fear entered her heart. She called for every fleet commander. She ordered every ship in reach to search. She told scientists to study the storm. She commanded her elite guardians to go in, no matter how dangerous it was. She did not care about risk. She did not care about her safety. She cared only about her child. The Empire moved like a single living being. Search ships flew in every direction. Rescue beacons were launched into space. Messages were sent through every communication channel. But the storm was merciless. Many ships could not even get near it without losing control. Some returned badly damaged. Others disappeared forever. Days passed, then weeks. No sign of Princess Leora. The Empire began to fear the worst. Ordinary citizens prayed. Leaders whispered in worry. Mothers held their children tighter when they heard the news, because they understood the Queen's pain, not as citizens, but as parents. Queen Siraliah did not sleep. She stayed in the great crystal hall, where the galaxy map floated above the floor like a glowing sky. She watched every signal, every search update, every hope, and every heartbreak. Her eyes were tired, but her heart refused to give up. Sometimes she would stand alone near the large window of her palace. She would look at the stars and whisper softly, "Leora, my child, where are you?" There was always a soft tremble in her voice, but there was also strength. She refused to cry in front of others, but when she was alone, silent tears fell gently. Yet even in sadness, she stayed strong for her people. She told them the search would never stop. She told them her daughter was alive. She told them hope must not die. Her powerful voice carried courage, but inside, every passing day felt heavier. Rumors began to spread across the galaxy. Some said unknown enemies took the princess. Some said the storm was not natural, but created by someone. Some believed she was lost forever in empty space. But there was another rumor, too. A quiet one, small like a spark, yet bright enough to comfort hearts. A rumor that somewhere, somehow, someone had found a faint life signal. Not proof. Not clear, but a sign. The Queen held on to that hope. Even the smallest light mattered. Meanwhile, far from the alien empire, humanity lived their own struggles in space. Humans were not the largest empire. They did not have the most advanced technology. But they had something powerful: heart, determination, and the habit of standing strong when everything seemed impossible. Many other alien races saw humans as stubborn and unpredictable. Some feared them, some underestimated them. But one thing was certain: when humans cared about something, they would fight the universe itself to protect it, in a distant part of the galaxy, near the dangerous storm but on the edge of safety. A lone human military vessel patrolled space. It was small but strong, carrying brave crew members who had seen danger before. Among them was a human soldier named Captain Eric Vale. He was known not only for his skill in battle, but also for his sense of honor. He did not fight simply because of orders. He fought because he believed life mattered. His heart was firm, his spirit steady, and he carried a quiet sadness from past battles. Yet he still chose to protect others. On a calm patrol day, the human ship detected something unusual. A weak signal. Broken, almost gone, but not completely. It was coming from near the edge of the silent tempest. Most captains would have ignored it. It was too dangerous. It was not a human signal. It could be a trap. It could be debris. It could be nothing. But Arik did not look away. He stared at the flickering signal on his screen. There was something fragile about it. Something desperate. Something that felt like life trying to hold on. He felt a quiet pull inside his heart. Lock onto. "That signal?" he ordered calmly. His crew looked surprised. "Sir, that region is unstable," they warned. "We could lose the ship. It may not even be a person." But Eric simply said, "If it is a life, we cannot ignore it." And with that choice, fate began to change. The human ship adjusted course. Engines roared softly. The craft moved. Closer to danger, the signal grew a little stronger, and weaker, then stronger again. It was like a heartbeat fighting to survive. Arik stood at the front window of the ship, watching the swirling storm in the distance. It was huge, dark, and frightening. Yet beyond that fear, he felt purpose. Somewhere out there, someone needed help, and he was not going to turn away at the same time. In the alien palace, Queen Scifi placed her hand on the glowing map of space. Her fingers hovered over the storm region, where hope had almost faded. She closed her eyes for a moment. "My daughter. Please hold on," she whispered. 2 distant lives. 2 different worlds. 1 storm between them. And 1 human decision that would soon change everything. The galaxy did not know it yet. But a story of courage, kindness, and unity had just begun. A story where a human heart would shine brighter than any star. A story where hope would fight fear. A story where a lost daughter was not as lost as everyone believed, because somewhere in the silent darkness, help was already moving toward her, and destiny was quietly waiting. Captain Arik Vale tightened his grip on the ship's control panel as the human vessel drifted closer to the storm's edge. The swirling clouds of energy stretched across space like a vast, angry ocean. Lightning like sparks twisted within the storm, and invisible forces tugged at their ship, making even the strongest frame shiver. Every instinct told the crew to turn back, to retreat to safety. But Eric's eyes stayed fixed on the faint life signal flickering on the screen. "It's still there," he murmured quietly, almost to himself. His voice carried both hope and determination. "Somebody is alive, and they need us." The ships. Science Officer Lieutenant Mara adjusted the signal scanner. "Sir, it's strange. The readings are unlike anything I've seen. It's alive, yes, but the energy signature doesn't match any human species. It's not even the ones we've met." On nearby colonies, Eric nodded, without taking his gaze off the distant storm. "Then we will find them. Wherever they are, they deserve a chance." The crew shared uneasy looks. Space outside the human sphere was already dangerous, and venturing into a storm that had swallowed entire fleets before seemed almost suicidal. But Arik did not hesitate. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was the choice to act despite it. He knew this deeply. Minutes passed, then hours. The human ship crept closer to the storm, its engines straining against the strange gravitational pull. Each warning light on the control panel seemed louder than the last. a chorus of alarms meant to remind the crew of the danger, but Arik remained steady, his calm presence giving them strength. Finally, a figure appeared on the scanning screen. At first, it was barely recognizably, small pod drifting in the darkness, energy flickering erratically around it. Arik leaned forward, gripping the edge of the console. "There," said, pointing. "That's it. That's the signal." The pod floated like a fragile seed in a violent storm, battered by invisible forces. Inside, barely conscious, was a small figure. Curled into itself, Arik's heart tightened. The life signal was weak, but it was unmistakable someone was alive, fighting to survive. "Prepare the recovery beam," Arik commanded. "We are bringing them on board. Everyone, stay sharp. The storm is unstable. One wrong move, and we could lose everything." The crew worked quickly, launching the recovery systems and carefully aligning the beam with the pod. Outside, the storm howled. Streams of energy lashed past the ship, making it tilt dangerously. But Arik's focus never wavered. The pod began to shimmer in the beam's light. Slowly, it lifted from the storm, wobbling, as the ship struggled to maintain stability. Finally, with a tense groan, it reached the safety of the human vessel. The crew cheered softly, but Arik did not relax. Yet he knew the real work had just begun. The pod's door opened automatically, and a small figure slumped forward. Arik rushed to support her. She was tiny, delicate, with pale blue skin that shimmered faintly in the ship's lights. Her hair glowed like moonlight, and her large eyes, though frightened, sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. She was very young, clearly a child, and clearly terrified. "It's okay," Arik said softly, his voice gentle. "You are safe now, or on my ship. No one can hurt you here." The girl did not respond at first. She only curled tighter, pressing her small hands against her chest. Her eyes darted to every shadow, every movement, every noise. She was exhausted, frightened, and alone in a vast, unfamiliar universe. Arik knelt beside her. "My name is Captain Arik. I am human. I will take you home. I promise." Her eyes widened at his words, a mixture of hope and disbelief shining in them. She did not speak, but the smallest nod showed that she understood. She had learned long ago that words could be empty promises, yet this man's voice carried sincerity. "Lieutenant." Mara brought a blanket and gently wrapped it around the child. "She's weak," Mara whispered. "Likely dehydrated, maybe a little injured from the pod?" Arik nodded. "Get her medical scan. We need to make sure nothing serious is wrong." Medical team immediately checked her vitals. Her heart was steady but weak, her energy low, and she had small scratches from the pod's interior. Nothing life-threatening, but she needed rest, food, and reassurance. While she rested, Arik stood nearby, watching the storm rage outside. He wondered how anyone could survive such a force, let alone a child. And yet here she was, alive, in his hands. He could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Failure was not an option, not for her. Not ever. Hours passed, and the girl slowly opened her eyes. They were wide, curious, and cautious. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Where am I?" "You are safe," Arik said calmly. "You are on a human ship. My crew and I found you. You are not alone anymore." Her gaze shifted around the room, taking in the unfamiliar faces, the strange technology. The blinking lights, and the wide-open windows showing the storm outside. A moment, fear returned. But Arik knelt again, smiling gently. "I know it. It's scary," he said. "I know this is not home, but I promise we will take you home. To your mother, you will see her again." The girl's eyes widened even more. She whispered, almost inaudibly, "Mother?" Arik nodded. "Yes, your mother is waiting for you. I am going to make sure you get back to her safely." A long silence followed. The girl seemed to study him, as if trying to understand if he was lying or telling the truth. Slowly, she reached out a trembling hand. Arik took it gently, not pulling away. This small gesture bridged the gap between fear and trust. "Do you remember your name?" Rick asked softly. "Leora," she whispered. "Princess Leora." "Eric," smiled Leora. "You have a very special name. And I will protect you, Princess Leora. You are safe now." For the first time in weeks, a small spark of hope appeared in Leora's eyes. She leaned against him, trusting him enough to feel a little comfort. Arik did not move, allowing her to rest. He could feel the immense weight of responsibility, but he also felt something stronger, a sense of purpose, a reminder of why he had chosen this life. The storm outside continued to rage, but inside the ship, calm settled over the small cabin. The human crew quietly went about their duties, checking navigation, stabilizing the ship, and keeping a watchful eye on Leora. They knew the journey ahead would be long and dangerous, but they also knew that this child's life depended on them, and that was enough motivation to face any danger. Days passed as the ship traveled toward the alien empire. Eric and Leora slowly grew accustomed to each other's presence. She was curious about him, asking questions about humans, ships, and distant planets. At first her voice was quiet, hesitant, afraid of being disappointed or hurt again. But Arik answered patiently, never rushing, always speaking gently. "You are very brave, Leora," he told her one evening as she watched the stars through the large viewing window. "Most children would have given up in a storm like that. You survived." "That is amazing." Leora looked at him, a small smile appearing for the first time. I didn't want to die," she admitted softly. I wanted to see my mother again." Arik nodded. "And you will. We will get you home, together." For the first time in weeks, Leora felt something she had not felt since she disappeared: hope. She believed in Arik, not just because he rescued her, but because he showed kindness without expecting anything in return. Humans had always been a mystery to her, a distant and sometimes frightening species. But now she could see that courage and compassion could come in any form, even from a human soldier. As the ship moved closer to the storm's edge, the galaxy seemed to watch quietly. Two lives, one human, one alien, were connected now, linked by courage, hope, and the promise of reunion. And the story of their journey had only just begun. Captain Eric looked at Leora once more, his eyes filled with determination. "No matter what comes next," he whispered, "we will get you home. You are not alone. Not anymore." And for the first time in a long while, Princess Leora believed it. The storm still raged outside, unpredictable and dangerous. But inside the human ship, a fragile sense of safety and trust had begun to grow. And it was this small light hope, courage, and human kindness that would guide them through the darkness ahead. The journey was only beginning. But the bond between a human soldier and an alien princess had already been forged. A bond that would carry them through dangers, mysteries, challenges the galaxy had never seen before. Because in a universe full of fear, hope was the greatest power of all. The human ship glided cautiously through the edge of the silent tempest. Outside, the storm raged like a living creature. Energy streaks danced violently across the void, twisting gravity and bending the light of distant stars. Every shift of the ship caused the crew to hold their breath, but Captain Arik Vale remained calm. Steadying the vessel with practiced hands, Princess Leora sat quietly in the medbay, wrapped in a soft blanket. Her small hands traced the edges of the blanket as she stared out the window at the flickering lights of the storm. Each flash reminded her of the terrifying days she had spent alone, drifting in her damaged pod. Her blue skin shimmered faintly in the dim lights. Her large eyes, though cautious, held a spark of curiosity. "You've been through a lot, Leora," Eric said gently as he entered the room. "I know it hasn't been easy." Leora looked up at him, her voice soft. It was scary. I thought I would never see my mother again." Arik knelt beside her. "No," he said. "But you are here now, and we are getting you home. That is all that matters." For the first time since her rescue, Leora felt a tiny sense of peace. She leaned against him briefly, and Arik allowed her a small moment of comfort. He understood. that building trust would take time and every small gesture mattered. Meanwhile, the ship's crew worked tirelessly to navigate the turbulent storm. Lieutenant Mara monitored the sensors, calculating the safest path. "Captain," she said, her voice tense, "the storm's core is unstable. We're picking up strange gravitational fluctuations ahead. It could tear the ship apart if we get too close." Arik nodded, his eyes on the swirling clouds outside. "We have no choice. We need to pass through the edge. There is no other route to her home. Everyone, stay alert. We can do this together." The crew tightened their grips on controls and sensors, their faces a mix of fear and determination. Each member understood the stakes. A life depended on them. Failure was not an option. As the ship moved forward, the storm seemed almost alive. Lightning-like streaks arced across the void, twisting toward the ship like fingers reaching for prey. Gravity shifted unexpectedly, sending objects floating through the cabin. Crew members secured equipment and themselves. While Arik adjusted the engines to compensate for the sudden forces, Leora watched silently, her small hands clutching the blanket. Fear rose again, but this time it was tempered by the presence of Arik. She could feel his calm, steady energy, and it gave her courage she had not known she possessed. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared loudly. The navigation system flagged a massive energy surge ahead. "An energy vortex," Mara shouted. "It's growing rapidly. If we enter it, we risk being torn apart." Arik's jaw tightened. He studied the readings quickly, analyzing every possible course of action. "We don't have a choice," he said. "We must move through it. Hold on tight, everyone." The ship lurched violently as it entered the edge of the vortex. The cabin shook, and objects flew across the room. Crew members struggled to maintain control, shouting instructions to each other over the roaring alarms. Leora screamed, clutching Arik's arm tightly. "It's okay, Leora," he said firmly. "I've got you. Stay close to me." The princess nodded, her eyes wide with fear. She trusted him completely, knowing that he would not let harm come to her. Arik gritted his teeth and focused all his strength on piloting the ship. Every calculation, every maneuver, and every decision counted. The ship spun and tilted as it passed through the energy vortex. Lightning struck close to the hull, sending sparks across the control panels. The crew held their positions, shouting instructions and encouragement. Arik's hands moved quickly, steadying the engines and navigating. Through the chaos, after what felt like an eternity, the ship finally emerged on the other side of the vortex. The storm's edge receded slightly, leaving a calm pocket of space. The crew sighed in relief, though exhaustion was written on every face. Leora looked at Arik, her voice trembling. You saved us." Arik smiled, though his face was smeared with sweat. "We saved each other," he replied, "stayed brave, and we made it through together." For the first time in days, Leora felt a true sense of hope. The storm was dangerous, but she realized that with courage, trust, and teamwork, even the most terrifying obstacles could be overcome. As the ship continued its journey, Leora began to ask questions about the human crew, their ship, and the worlds they came from. Arik answered patiently, telling her stories about Earth, about human colonies on distant planets, and about the adventures he had experienced. Leora listened with fascination, slowly forgetting the fear that had gripped her since the day she disappeared. "Humans are brave," she said quietly. "Even small, you face big dangers." Arik chuckled softly. "We try our best. And sometimes we have no choice but to be brave." Days turned into nights as the ship traveled steadily toward the alien empire. Leora grew more comfortable with Arik and the crew, and she began to trust them fully. She shared small details about her life with the Queen, her favorite lessons, and her dreams of exploring new worlds. One evening, while the ship sailed past a cluster of glowing nebulae, Leora looked at Arik and asked, "Do you think my mother is worried about me?" Arik paused for a moment, then nodded. "I know she is. Mothers always worry about their children. But she will be so proud when she sees how brave you are, and soon you will be with her again." Tears formed in Leora's eyes, but this time they were tears of relief, not fear. She realized that she was not alone and that hope could survive, even the darkest moments, but the galaxy still had challenges waiting for them. The storm was only one of many obstacles on the path home. Strange gravitational anomalies, rogue asteroids, and unknown dangers lurked in the void. Every day required vigilance, courage, and careful planning. Arik understood this. He spent hours analyzing routes, scanning for hazards, and preparing for the unexpected. He knew the journey would test their strength, but he also knew that failure was not an option. Leora's life depended on him, and he would face any danger to ensure her safety. One night, as the ship drifted near a dense asteroid field, the sensors detected an unusual movement. Massive rocks, some larger than their ship, floated unpredictably through space. A collision could destroy them instantly. "Captain, we need to change course," Mara warned. "This field is unstable." "One wrong move, I know," Arik interrupted. "Prepare the thrusters. We are navigating through it slowly. Everyone stay alert." The ship entered the asteroid field cautiously. Rocks scraped past the hull, sending vibrations through the cabin. Crew members worked together, adjusting thrusters and shields to avoid collisions. Leora clutched the railing, her eyes wide, but trusting Arik's guidance. "Stay calm," Arik said, his voice steady. "We've faced worse. Focus on your tasks, and we will make it through." The journey was long and grueling. Days passed as the ship maneuvered through storms, vortices, and asteroid fields. Leora's trust in Arik grew stronger with each obstacle they overcame. She began to understand the meaning of courage, patience, and teamwork. She realized that even in the darkest times, hope could guide them forward. During a rare moment of calm, Leora approached Arik. "Captain," she said softly, "thank you. For everything, you saved me." Arik smiled gently. "You didn't need saving, Leora. You helped save yourself too. Bravery comes in many forms, and you've shown it every day." For a brief moment, the weight of the journey lifted. Leora felt safe, hopeful, and determined to see her mother again. She realized that the bond she shared with Arik and the crew was stronger than fear, stronger than the storm, and stronger than any danger they might face. As the ship continued its journey, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Two lives, one human, one alien, were connected now, united by courage, trust, and the shared goal of returning home. And though challenges still awaited, Arik and Leora faced them with determination, knowing that hope was their most powerful weapon. Because in a universe full of danger, fear, and uncertainty, courage and trust could shine brighter than the strongest stars. And so, the journey continued, with the human soldier and the alien princess moving steadily toward home, ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store for them. The human ship drifted slowly through the calm outer space beyond the storm. The silent tempest had been left behind, but its shadow still lingered in every crew member's mind. Captain Arik Vale stood at the front window, gazing at the glittering stars, but his eyes were fixed on one goal: the alien empire. Beyond the nebula clouds and asteroid fields lay the home of Princess Leora. "She is close," Arik said softly to Lieutenant Mara. "We are almost there. Prepare the communications channel for arrival. I want them to know she is coming safely." Mara nodded, her fingers flying across the controls. The alien empire was not like human colonies. It was vast, organized, and ruled by a queen whose reputation was known across many galaxies. Every ship, every soldier, and every protocol in their fleet was precise. They would not make mistakes lightly. Inside the medbay, Leora sat quietly on the examination table. She watched the stars flicker past the window, thinking about the queen, her mother. She remembered the warmth of her mother's touch, the gentle voice, the way she always made Leora feel safe. Her heart tightened with a mix of hope and fear. What if she doesn't recognize me? Leora whispered to Arik. Arik knelt beside her, holding her small hand gently. "Leora, your mother will recognize you immediately. She knows you better than anyone in the universe. She has been waiting for you every day. Trust her." Leora nodded, but her hands trembled slightly. She had been gone for so long. The unknown days had left her cautious. Yet Eric's calm words brought her comfort. She began to believe that home was no longer just a dream. The human ship approached the Empire's outer perimeter. Massive walls of energy shimmered in space, protecting the planets and their inhabitants. Patrol ships moved like sentinels, scanning every incoming signal. "Prepare for inspection," Arik ordered. "We will follow every protocol. The princess must be returned safely, but we do not want to cause alarm." Mara adjusted the communications system. "They are asking for identification. They do not recognize our signature," Arik spoke into the translator. "We carry Princess Leora, daughter of Queen Siralaya. She has been lost in the silent tempest. She is safe and unharmed. We request immediate clearance to deliver her to the Queen." A tense silence followed. Then slowly, the energy walls shifted, allowing the human ship to pass. A signal of permission was sent. The Queen's forces would allow the ship to dock at the palace. Inside the ship, Leora's eyes widened. We are really going home?" she whispered. Arik smiled gently. "Yes, Princess. Very soon you will be with your mother." The docking process began. The human crew carefully maneuvered the ship through the gates. The alien guards observed every move, their expressions unreadable. Humans were rarely welcomed so close to the Queen's palace, and the presence of a small human vessel carrying a royal princess caused whispers among the guards. Finally, the ship docked. The doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a long, glowing corridor leading to the palace. The air shimmered with energy, and the sound of soft humming filled the space. Arik led Leora forward, holding her hand to give her courage. As they walked, the tension among the alien guards was clear. Many had doubts about humans. Some feared them. Others had never trusted outsiders near the royal family. But Eric's calm demeanor and the careful way he handled the princess impressed them. Slowly, suspicion turned into cautious respect. At last they reached the grand hall of the palace. The ceiling soared high above, filled with floating lights that mirrored the stars outside. The floor glowed softly, reflecting the colors of the Queen's royal insignia. And there, standing at the far end of the hall, was Queen Siralaya. She was regal, her presence commanding yet filled with warmth. Her blue eyes, similar to Leora's, searched every face in the room. Then they focused on the small figure walking beside a human soldier. Her breath caught, time seemed to slow. The entire galaxy felt still. Leora's small hand trembled in. "Arik's grip, Mom," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The Queen's eyes filled with tears, and she ran forward. Her long robes flowed behind her, and her hands reached for her daughter. "Leora, my child, you are alive." Leora dropped her hand from Eric's and ran into her mother's embrace. The Queen lifted her gently, holding her close as tears streamed down both of their faces. The long days of fear, worry, and pain melted. In that single moment, "Mom, I'm back." Leora sobbed softly. He saved me." Queen Siralaya turned her gaze to Arik, her eyes wide with gratitude and awe. You are the human who saved my daughter?" she asked, her voice a mixture of disbelief and respect. Arik bowed slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty. I found her, drifting in the silent tempest, and brought her back safely." The Queen stepped closer, her hand brushing lightly against Eric's shoulder. "You have done what no one else could. You have returned my daughter to me. I cannot thank you enough." Arik smiled humbly. "It was my duty, Your Majesty, and I was honored to do it." For a moment, silence filled the grand hall. The alien guards watched carefully, waiting to see the Queen's reaction. Then, slowly, a murmur of admiration spread through the room. Even the most skeptical of the guards could not ignore the courage and dedication of a single human who had risked everything for a child. Leora looked up at Arik, her eyes shining. "Thank you," she said softly, "for bringing me home." Arik knelt slightly to meet her gaze. "You are welcome, Princess. I only did what I could." The Queen hugged Leora tightly again, her voice breaking with emotion. My daughter, my life, you are safe, and it is because of him, this human. He is a hero of our people." Word of Eric's bravery spread quickly. Other members of the royal council came forward, bowing respectfully. Even the highest-ranking officers, who had never trusted humans, now acknowledged his courage. The galaxy was witnessing something extraordinary. Human soldier who had risked everything for an alien child. Proving that compassion and bravery knew no species, the queen turned to Auric, her eyes full of pride and gratitude. "You will always have a place in our empire, Captain Auric. Your courage and heart have shown us that humans are capable of greatness, far beyond what we imagined." Auric shook his head gently. "I did not act for reward, Your Majesty. I acted because it was the right thing to do. The princess's life mattered. That was enough." Leora held her mother's hand and looked at Auric. "He saved me." "Really?" "Saved me. I will never forget him." The queen's voice softened. "Nor will we. Your bravery will be remembered in our stories and teachings. You have shown that courage, kindness, and loyalty are the greatest powers in the galaxy." For the first time in weeks, Leora felt completely safe. She was home. She was with her mother. And she understood something powerful. Courage and compassion could bridge any divide. Even between species. Auric watched them, feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction. The journey had been dangerous, filled with storms, challenges, and fears. The reward, seeing the reunion of a mother and her daughter, made every moment worth it. Even the guards who had doubted humans now nodded respectfully. Whispers of admiration spread throughout the palace. This human soldier had proven that courage and honor could exist anywhere, and that sometimes hope came from the most unexpected places. The queen embraced her daughter once more, holding her close, as if never to let go. Leora rested her head against her mother's chest, her tears drying slowly. "Mom," she whispered again, "he saved me." "He really did." Queen Cerelia looked at Auric, her voice steady and proud. "You have my eternal gratitude. You have done more than duty. You have done something extraordinary. Our people will remember you always." Auric bowed one last time. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It was my honor." And in that moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. A human soldier had crossed impossible dangers, faced the unknown, and returned a lost princess to her mother. It was a moment of hope, courage, and unity. Because sometimes the greatest power in the universe was not weapons or armies, but a brave heart willing to do what is right. And for Captain Eric Vale, that heart had guided him to a galaxy forever changed by his actions. The grand hall of the alien palace shimmered with soft golden light. Princess Leora sat beside her mother, Queen Cerelia, wrapped in her arms. The reunion had calmed the hearts of everyone present, yet the story of what had happened traveled. Quickly whispers filled the hall. A human soldier, Captain Auric Vale, had risked everything to rescue the lost princess. For some, it was hard to believe. For others, it was a lesson in courage and kindness that would never be forgotten. Auric stood quietly near the entrance, observing the scene. He was not used to such attention, nor did he seek it. Humans, after all, rarely expected accolades in alien empires. His job was simple: protect the innocent and do what was right. Yet seeing the joy and relief on Leora's face, and the gratitude in the queen's eyes, made him feel something powerful. Pride not for himself, but for the choice he had made. "Captain." "Auric," Queen Cerelia called, her voice firm yet warm. "Come forward. The people of my empire owe you more than words can express." Auric stepped forward slowly, bowing his head in respect. He had learned the customs of the alien empire during the journey, enough to understand that gratitude was more than mere words. It was a sacred acknowledgement of honor. "You returned my daughter to me," the queen said, her eyes glistening. "You faced dangers that none of my warriors could endure. You risked life and ship, traveling through storms and unknown threats for a child of my blood. For that, humanity will always have a place in our hearts." Auric shook his head, his voice calm. "Your Majesty, I did not act for recognition or reward. I acted because it was right. Princess Leora's life mattered. That was enough. The queen stepped closer, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. Sometimes, Captain, the right thing is also the bravest thing. You have shown that bravery is not measured by strength alone, but by the heart. Today you have changed the way my people see humanity. A hush fell over the hall as guards, council members, and palace attendants observed the interaction. Humans had long been seen as unpredictable and sometimes reckless, but Eric's actions proved otherwise. Courage, honor, and selflessness, qualities often overlooked in the galaxy, were on full display. Princess Leora looked up at Eric, her voice trembling with emotion. "He saved me," she whispered to her mother. "He really did. I don't know how I can ever thank him enough." Queen Cerelia smiled warmly at her daughter, then turned her gaze back to Eric. "Your courage has saved not only a life, but the bond between our people and yours. For that you will always be remembered. And more than that, eternal gratitude." The palace began to celebrate in small ways. Musicians quietly played gentle harmonies, and servants brought refreshments and flowers. Leora's friends, who had worried silently while she was missing, began to arrive. Their eyes widened as they saw her safe and sound, holding her mother's hand and smiling. Yet despite the celebration, Eric remained quietly humble. He moved through the hall, checking on the crew, ensuring that the princess was settled and that no one needed assistance. Even in moments of honor, he kept his mind on what truly mattered, the safety and comfort of the child he had brought home. Later, the queen led Eric to a private balcony overlooking the galaxy. Stars shimmered like jewels across the endless black sky. Nebulas glowed with soft colors. Distant planets rotated slowly in the quiet of space. "Look at this," the queen said softly. "Do you see the beauty of our galaxy, Captain? And yet, even in its vastness, hope can shine through the darkest storms. You have proven that hope is stronger than fear." Eric nodded, gazing at the stars. "It is true," he said. "No matter how large the universe is, one person's choices can make a difference. And sometimes the smallest actions, caring, protecting, standing up for someone, can change everything." Queen Cerelia turned her gaze to him, eyes filled with admiration. "Your heart is rare, Eric Vale. You have shown my people what humans are capable of. Perhaps in time, more will see the truth of your species." Eric smiled humbly. "I only did what anyone should do." And Princess Leora, she made it easy to act with care. Her courage inspired me as much as mine guided her. Back inside the palace, Leora prepared for her first official reunion with the council and her friends. She walked with confidence, her mother beside her, but she never forgot Eric. She paused at the hall entrance, glancing back at him. "Thank you," she whispered again, softly, just for him to hear. Eric gave a small nod, his expression gentle. "Always remember," he said quietly, "courage and kindness are the strongest weapons anyone can have." The council members bowed to Leora, welcoming her home, while the guards, still impressed by the human's deeds, nodded with respect toward Eric. Even in the midst of protocol and ceremony, the story of bravery and trust between two species became the heart of the day. The queen guided her daughter to a small audience chamber, where she could rest and recover from her ordeal. Leora sat quietly, holding her mother's hand, feeling the warmth she had longed for. Eric remained nearby, ensuring that all was well. Though he knew the moment of reunion had passed from fear to joy, over the following days, Eric was invited to observe the Empire's court, not as a guest, but as a respected figure. His presence reminded everyone of the events that had brought Princess Leora home safely. The story of the human soldier spread across communication networks and space channels, reaching even distant worlds that had never met humans before. The galaxy began to see humans differently. Stories of bravery, loyalty, and compassion highlighted the strength of humanity. It was no longer about size, weapons, or technology alone. It was about heart. And Eric, through a single act of courage, had changed perceptions forever. One evening, the queen invited Eric and Leora to the palace gardens. The gardens floated above the city on platforms of energy, glowing softly in the alien moonlight. Flowers of colors unknown to human eyes swayed gently in the artificial breeze. Leora ran ahead, laughing softly. "Come on, Captain. Look at this place." Arik followed with a smile, enjoying the rare moment of peace.
Ow.
It was quiet, safe, and full of life's stark contrast to the dangerous journey they had just endured. Leora picked flowers carefully, arranging them in a small bouquet. She handed it to Eric with a shy smile. "For you," she said softly. "Thank you. For everything." Eric knelt slightly to meet her gaze. "I do not need gifts, Leora. Seeing you safe, happy, and home is reward enough." But he accepted the flowers anyway, understanding that it was her way of expressing gratitude. Small gestures mattered, he thought, as much as grand acts of bravery. The queen watched the exchange. Silently, her eyes filled with pride and tears. "You have not only returned my daughter to me," she said softly, "but you have reminded us all of what truly matters. Courage, compassion, and the bonds we share across the universe." Days passed, and Leora settled back into life at the palace. She laughed, learned, and played once more, surrounded by family and friends. The trauma of being lost faded gradually, replaced by memories of hope, trust, and a brave human who had risked everything for her. Arik prepared to leave, knowing his mission was complete. But the queen would not allow him to go empty-handed. She presented him with a small medallion, crafted from rare crystals of her planet, glowing softly with energy. "For bravery," she said. "For honor. And for reminding us that even across the vastness of the galaxy, courage and kindness can unite worlds." Arik accepted it humbly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will keep it as a reminder that hope is stronger than fear." Before departing, Leora ran to him, hugging him tightly. "Promise me," she said softly, "you will always remember us." Arik hugged her back gently. "I promise, Princess. And remember, this tour, courage saved more than just yourself. It inspired everyone around you. You were strong, brave, and full of light." Human ship lifted off quietly, leaving the palace in calm, glowing beauty. Queen Saralia and Princess Leora watched it disappear into the stars, their hearts full of gratitude and admiration. The galaxy had witnessed a remarkable story, one that would be told for generations. The story of a human who risked everything to save an alien child. As Eric's ship moved further into space, he looked back at the palace one last time. He smiled, quietly. The universe was wide, dangerous, and unpredictable. But he knew this. One act of courage, one choice to act with heart, could change the galaxy forever. And somewhere across the stars, Princess Leora waved, tears of joy in her eyes, knowing that she had experienced something extraordinary. The galaxy, vast and mysterious, would never forget, because courage, kindness, and hope, these were the strongest powers of all.